A few drinks later.
Hello, and welcome back to Friday. We are the LARP Noobs.
Yeah, we're going to continue on.
Yeah.
This is, let's see how we go. So we're going to talk about the Gathering in Hercynia.
Yeah, so this is the first player event that we went to, and this is, if you like, the Friday after we've had a pretty crazy Thursday.
Everyone's like the most hungover and just like
in a nice
wrecked the
way,
next day.
though, right? It was a cool environment, and yeah, it was cool. It was and that's
but we were there to LARP.
Yeah,
and LARP we would.
And yeah, the idea that the other major benefit, of course, of going on a Thursday is, of course, then you've got all Friday just to chill out and just enjoy, finish off anything you've got on the camp. You can get ready in relative kind of comfort.
The excitement, those few hours
as the hours are ticking away,
time in when everyone's starting getting into their kit, and there's a few IC conversations or people are dipping in and out of IC.
Yeah, warming
and it's
up. Right?
It's really cool. It's really fun. But yeah, we had some pretty good briefings done by young Philip.
Yeah, that was really good. So Phil, Caitlin, and Tom all basically gave a sort of opening sort of player introduction, and this is the thing: the whole level of professionalism and quality from those three throughout the event.
Weapons
everything
checkers,
they did,
referees
Robert on the weapons checks. Yeah, we had people refereeing and stepping up to help with crewing and monstering, and this has all been put together in a very, very short period of time. And yeah, they were amazing. And
I want to say, going back to getting player packs that you had worked on, was the most exciting thing.
I'm pleased about that. I wasn't sure how it was going to be.
They had the God box, and you go up there, give your PD number. Caitlin would go through the box, give you your player pack, rip it open. I had some fake Liao and a fake whatever in there, and I was like, "What the hell is this?" And then I also had 2 bits of paper with little bits of plot on, and one of them was there's going to be a courier passing by called Limpy Tom or something.
Yes, I think
whatever his name was.
Jack, it might be.
Limpy Jack, that's it. And the problem with Limpy Jack is that the closer enemy are to him, the more his limp plays up. And I was like, for fuck's sake. I don't want to die at this event. Limpy Jack just sounds like a death sentence. Do you know what I mean?
So this was actually this was Phil's idea, and we kind of played off it. I played off it a bit in the plot writing this, and he basically wanted to do, because the whole point is your character's kind of like a scout, right?
I'm part of the auxiliaries. Yeah.
So you kind of it's the kind of thing your character would do. Yeah, you're a runner, right? So the idea is that you would help carry this message.
I like about this is the added lore to the role that is, for me, very practical, which is I show up on the Friday night to the military council, go to the auxiliary meetings at 10 o'clock in the military council, and then we find out who's going to be running tomorrow. I show up the next morning, meet up with the fellow auxiliaries and runners, and then I run around on the Saturday or Sunday, depending on what it is, right?
Yeah.
To have an extended lore universe added to the top of this, of that I have duties outside of an event, is c'est magnifique. It is cool. So wonderful, really, cool. Really nice.
Actually, one other thing that this forgot to actually mention before was, on the day we turned up, I found out that the event had been sanctioned.
Yes, it was a sanctioned event,
and this changes a lot.
Yeah,
and just basically,
it's the hand of Matt P himself comes down and just anoints us.
Yeah,
and we are a sanctioned event. Also, if you die, you're dead.
Yeah. It presented quite a few immediate challenges with the stuff that I'd written, and everyone was basically just really good at understanding where the lines were a bit blurred, and that people had a good time with the plot.
Yep.
Not all of it is necessarily canon or always intended in the way that was planned for a sanctioned event, but regardless, it was very strong.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's the next 2 events I went to were both sanctioned as well.
Yes.
So I get the feeling Profound Decisions are doing their best to try and give the best experience people can have.
Yeah.
They're working back there trying to make sure that players, just because they're not going to Empire, are still having a great time, and that's so admirable.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah, and they really helped, especially on the second one. I think. Well, I can't really talk to it too much, but I think they did help a lot, and I think, as I say, this whole thing with the crewing of it and stuff. It's
I think
very strong.
I think it's very interesting how other companies protect their IP and how PD are in a really great position where they let that happen. And I think it's like it's so great that we're allowed to enjoy it. You know,
actually, like player events in general, like they're so much fun, and the opportunity they present you, like the people you get time to speak to, is fantastic. You know, genuinely, like you get a lot more opportunity to talk to a pretty important person about pretty important RP things.
The conversations that we managed to have with new players, with experienced players, with whatever is just like so valuable. I think the kind of we'll get to this because we had loads of interactions with some pretty cool people, but time in we were kind of told that there were Jotun in the area. Jotun in the area?
Yeah, Jotun in the area. Well, I go with Jotun, but there was Jotun in the area.
And bandits.
Yes.
Classic bandits.
And spookiness.
Because there was something going on with all this fake liao that was going around the place.
Well, that's a whole interesting thing, because that actually wasn't part of the plot, really.
I think that was very player-led by very specific players.
Yeah, there was a set of players who really ran with certain aspects of the plot, which is a really interesting topic.
I think definitely that is the element of this weekend that definitely gets a bit wacky away from PD.
I think actually, you know what, a lot of it felt like the difference between being historically accurate and an inspired by kind of movie.
Yes.
It was inspired by the things, and everybody took it, I think, in the spirit of that it's inspired by PD.
Mate, let's just get into it, right? Like, let's stop messing around. Immediately the announcement at the kind of standing of everyone there is kind of like we're informed about what's happening in the area. Like, you know, we're all there for a knees up, but it's actually quite a dangerous area, so we should be careful. There's lots of people going on. There's mention that we're going to go out on like scouting missions to find out what's going on in the area.
Yeah.
And basically Phil was playing this idea of the war scout. So he was kind of like half his character and half kind of like feeding plot into the group in an IC sort of way. You know?
He was great. He really worked at both events. He's really worked hard.
All of them. I'm going to keep going on about this. It was their first event and how they expanded into the Fallen Queen or whatever.
Yeah,
so good. Anyway, so we find out that like my husband Sinwig and his friend Marcus are going to run a tournament of 1v1s and then 3v3s and then do an archery tournament.
Yeah. So
this simple concept was so fucking good.
It was so good.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to it, but I obviously have done a bit of archery before, and my dad has this really nice archery target. So I just and literally made for me this little archery stand. Basically, so I could take it along.
Yeah.
And that just sparked off the whole thing of like, let's just do an archery tournament, which obviously I was involved in. And having that as a juxtaposition also to the 1v1s and the 3v3s, it was great. It was really good fun to have.
Imagine for the rest of this story, everyone involved, everyone just had smiles on their faces and was up for anything.
Yeah.
That's kind of the vibe of the whole event, was everyone kind of like really wanting to pitch in and do their part, which comes to like the first skirmish, right?
Yeah.
So because of the lack of players, obviously we need to have like a certain amount of players in it. And the people that were kind of stepped up, anyone want to be a bandit? Well, I want to be a bandit. And everyone was just like, yeah. So I decided for the first time to take my camera with me to an event. And it was mainly I only took it because it's a new fancy camera. I want to take some pictures, but also like it's a friendly player event. It felt like, because I knew everyone, I just messaged Tom and was like, is it cool if I take some pictures? He was like, oh, please do, because we don't have a photographer. So I went with my camera and I shot the first skirmish, which was like a mix between kind of experienced, like Lanius was there, and bringing some less experienced Eerielight along. And there was some like first time Navarre players in the mix, versus this kind of motley crew of bandits, and all of you were just having the best time. Didn't they call out for Ian?
They did Ian the Terrible, right? Which I was not prepared for at all, and I actually ended up looking around saying, what? What?
Who's Ian the Terrible?
And then everybody was laughing. It was so funny. So then I was like the bandit leader, and I stepped up as like, you know, trying to basically start a fight. Right, that was the whole point.
Yeah, you were a bunch of dick bandits that needed their asses handed to them.
And oh boy, did we get our asses handed to us.
Oh wow! At first, I was like, there's always that feeling when you look at a skirmish and you're like, man, this could go badly. But the sheer force of will that the players had in that first...
The new players were incredible.
Wow, so cool. So cool. The way they, like... It's that kind of excitement and fear in their eyes and, like, the chaos of it and, like, how, like, motivated they are. Like, such fun to watch.
You know what was kind of fun in a way was it almost felt like watching... Because I got, like... I think as the bandit leader, I got taken out, like, almost immediately.
Yeah.
Right? But, like...
Oh, yeah. Like, you were...
I was out.
Seconds.
Yeah. Whoop! That was my life.
Yeah.
But, like...
and then it was just disparate bandits running around the place trying to stay alive as long as possible.
But it felt like, looking around, it felt like all the new players were getting that sort of, like, character introduction cinematic. Mm-hmm. Like, they were like, owning up our side was getting completely decimated.
They've been learning their calls, right? They were ready to go.
It was great. So it was so good.
It was an absolute ruffle stomp. But I should say, all of the photos I took for all 3 player events are up on the Empire photography forum. Yeah. So if you wanted to kind of have a look at what I'm talking about,
a visual
what we're talking
tour,
about, then there you go. You can go and look at that and enjoy that. If not, we'll try and do the best at describing it. That was so much fun seeing
I really enjoyed it.
Play it. Then you have written here, first use of dodgy herbs and other resources, Ian.
So I'd done these kind of dodgy resources that were basically in people's player packs. And one of the things, like, you kind of put a bunch of this stuff... Because bear in mind, I've never done this before, any of this kind of plot work before. So you put a bunch of stuff in the player packs. And, like, all of a sudden hearing the first time somebody came back with a side effect of one of these things.
Yeah.
And it just so happened to be one that I'd done where it was like, they only could refer to people as vegetables.
Yeah.
And immediately,
and like, imagine like being a player and you're sitting around and being like, "Oh, there's something going on with the dodgy Liao, whatever." Yeah. And I'm like, "What do you mean?" It's just like they're just talking to people like they're vegetables, and I'm like, "You what?" And it's one of those such a wonderful kind of like, and then they came over and were like, You're this and you're that, and everyone was like asking like what their vegetables were, because that's important, right? Like, if I was going to be a vegetable, what sort of vegetable would I be? You know, like, am I a courgette or a swede? Do you know what I mean? Like, not a tomato though, because that's a fruit, right?
You know, the really interesting thing was that later on, people did the same thing to different people to do like the scientific study of if everybody said the same type of vegetable.
Yeah, we should talk about Cadogan a little bit.
Oh yeah, no, so. Cadogan, who's played by Richard, who's like a friend of ours, basically delivered to me this thing when I basically put a call out for people to, if they had any bits of plot they wanted to see in the player packs. He got back to me with some sort of stuff, and one of them was just an offhand comment that like sometimes people call him the Leaf Man. I think that was like the hook, right? This got seeded into the player packs, and the conspiracy web that flowed throughout this whole event, linked with all the different types of dodgy resources, and all of the lore, if you like, the weird lore that built up over things, left the realm of my control very, very quickly, and went into some wonderful directions. It was so beautiful.
Cadogan is like our ritual wizard, right? Like in the Entwined Paths. And he's we all think he's crazy.
Yeah. He is crazy.
He is crazy. But like the only reason like everyone's like not too worried about it is because the amount of other ritual priests that come up and like look for advice or conversation with him. So just because we don't understand that world, he's probably doing the right thing, right?
He is, from my perspective, right, exactly the type of wizard archetype that I want around.
Yeah.
Like that kind of, he talks about unknowable things to me.
Yes. And he's also willing to put himself and everyone else around him at risk to pursue his pursuit of knowledge, right?
He is the crazy sage that like people come to learn lore off, but like a degree of what he says is just wacky bonkers.
The amount of time he's almost blown himself up already
it's
is
so
insane.
fun.
Like, it's the best. Like,
he's really pushed the pedal on it as well. And I think especially this event, hopefully, I think it brought a lot of that to the fore.
There isn't a dose of Lial he won't snort up his nose. Do you know what I mean?
Funny.
Like, he's good to go. Like, crazy. This rippled through the camp, right? So so I didn't use any of them.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I'm not a crazy person.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like, and I was also deeply concerned why people were collecting these resources together to try and plan to do something with them. And I thought that was also a fucking terrible idea. So, yeah.
They very quickly sort of developed sort of two lanes of action, if you like, in the camp. There was the people who were looking to acquire dodgy herbs, and there was like a couple of people who pushed that game a little bit, and that was fun. People who like pushed the angle of trying to score some dodgy herbs. And then there was the other sort of set of action, which was let's control the herbs and the dodgy resources.
I told people I didn't have any, and I had them.
Yeah,
I didn't want them to have what I had because I was deeply worried about it.
One of the things was there was a few of the resources that I'd done which had much more severe effects and required surgeries. So like one of them was like you had to be trepanned. The other one was like you had to have like stones extracted from your limbs and stuff like this.
Jesus.
So like then those resources were deemed the ones that needed to be collected. So it was quite it was like the hard stuff had to be removed from the economy, and so it was a group of players who did that. And then later on they developed this idea of trying to collect them all together to perform a ritual that went nutsos, and we'll get to that when it happens.
Yeah, so it's a really fun group of players, right? We've got like different people from different nations, and we're having like hardcore interactions with people that we really don't have a chance to. So I met a wonderful lady from the Brass Coast.
Vicky plays Bastiana.
Yeah, I met her at Empire Day. She was awesome then. Oh my god, what a delight to have around. I think she does a lot of like improv and other theatre, and it's like dealing with someone that has a masterclass in wit and entertainment. Like, she was just zinging off with like jokes and conversation and indulgences and innuendo, and it was just this masterclass on charisma. Like, just such a pleasure to be around.
Truly, for me, like truly aspirational sort of levels of RP.
I'm not smart enough. I don't know.
Exactly. I don't think I'm capable of that level.
God, it's like watching the Usain Bolt of like wit. You know what I mean?
It's so good, and it's all in character and delivered so well.
I love me a zinger back at people, as people know. Right?
I got zonged, dude.
But
I got
to be
zonged
repeatedly didn't stand a chance.
Oh, it was great.
Also, I want to say a shout out to my friend Orion, who plays a wonderful character with Sasha. This character will come up quite a lot.
Yes.
But Sasha's like, I also met him at Empire Day.
Yes.
He's a quiet, very sweetly spoken, pure Varushkan.
Yeah.
Like, he lives and breathes the role of being a Varushkan. He's also a map maker, and he makes like crafting stuff, which is just mind-blowingly cool. But basically, we've kind of like in the entwined paths, especially the Ashborn, we've definitely taken like Sasha into our camp, and like, because Gellert's always been saying how he wants to make more contacts in the Varushka, and like Sasha's this wonderful like person who's a perfect example of like
conduit, and just so good, like just a genuinely lovely guy, awesome character, extremely talented, like played like beautiful songs and instruments.
He plays instruments and sings.
And is extremely talented.
Okay, this is another thing. Like, there's a few people that when I tell about this in the story that are like, there should be rules to talent, right? Like, I know talent is really just hard graft, right? You just need to spend like 40,000 hours doing a thing, you get good at it.
Fuck those people.
It's like, listen, if you're gonna fucking make maps that are fucking works of art, give up the fucking singing. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to be like that about it. Do you know what I mean?
Oh man, what an incredible guy!
He's like a triple threat. Do you know what I mean? He's like Beyonce of LARP.
Yeah, he's such a great guy.
There isn't a thing he's weak on. It's disgusting.
Yeah, no, he's a great person to have around the camp.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's absolutely
so
fantastic.
good. Like, there's some really cool stuff with the songs later on. Actually, I'd like to get to, but
yeah. But over this time period, this was the first rollout of Fancy Talis.
Yes,
and there were a lot of questions about Talis on that Friday. A lot. Like people in the striding were like. People in the banner, I should say.
Yeah.
So they were saying...
Yeah. It got broader questions.
Does Talis have a weapon?
Yes.
No, he had to borrow a weapon of somebody else to do something, or for a skirmish or something. I remember that.
No, it's just because I wasn't carrying one around with me. But for personal safety, I wasn't carrying one.
Yeah, to be ready, right? You weren't carrying one with you.
Yeah, that was the point, right? It was so good.
The costume was so fancy. We even had... other people from other nations come up to the camp and being like, what's up with Talis?
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And it's usually like, I'm like, because I like riding Ian's ass the entire weekend, right? Like, this is just what I'd like to do. I find it fun. Ian finds it fun most of the time.
Yeah. It's a challenge, right? But it takes me to interesting places. I do actually really enjoy it.
Ian, no, don't blame yourself, Ian. Don't blame yourself. Oh, that's awful. But to hear it coming from externally was enough to be like, okay, let's fuck with Ian now. Yeah. Because it's like, this isn't,
To be fair, right, that's the story I'm going for.
Yeah,
right?
totally.
That's the story I'm going for.
Totally.
And you guys are all helping me. Like, I think it's like, it's a very, like, I get ribbed a lot, right? But that's part of it. Right, and it's all in good fun. I really enjoy it.
We should say we actually rib each other a lot.
Yeah.
But Ian mainly.
Yeah.
Mainly Ian.
Mainly me.
Yeah.
But rightly so, I think. And bear in mind, that is the story I'm after, to a certain extent. So, and I think you all help me amazingly with it.
Yeah.
And you're hugely supportive, actually. I think that's the other thing. Like, it's interesting, right? Because if this was real life, that would be a hugely negative experience in some ways, right?
Yeah.
But, like, because it's RP, it's like... And that's the story I want. You're all very kind of supportive of helping me achieve that story. Like I actually feel supported by what you do.
Dude, this weekend got like crazy emotional because, and I don't know how much you want to go into. I don't think we should go into too much in this because it's still like thoughts being formed. But there was a lot of very personal stuff connected to your RP that came out this weekend. That was fascinating and also deeply moving, right?
Yeah, no, it's good.
Let's talk about Riz a little bit.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. So, and this was another thing. So, there's this wonderful senator that we have. His character's called Riz, and
he is the senator of Hercynia as well.
And that was so good. Like the local senator was like
the local senator makes like it was just so great to have. Because during Anvil, senators tend to be running around, and the way you talk to senators, if you're not part of their direct group or involved in that, is to go, "Hi, could I have a minute?" And they go, can you walk and talk because I have to go, right? That's how conversations happen.
Often you talk to somebody before you even talk to them.
Yeah.
Right? There's almost like an informant that you'll talk to pass on certain bits of information because they're very busy people.
They're moving around a lot and trying to track down people. Empire is a fucking nightmare. So basically, having our own senator for the weekend, what a treat!
It was, and
dude.
He is again. He's outrageously talented.
Yeah, like, he's just... Dude, like, I hate how good-looking and charismatic and awesome he is.
He's amazingly good.
I'm like... He's so great. He's so great. He's dreamy, Ian.
There's like this awesome thing. That it's just a crazy sort of thing that his character also happens to be, like, ex-Eerielight, and... switched over to being Navarre and became senator of Hercynia on the same season that he switched over.
That gives you an idea of caliber here.
I know, real
Jesus.
Like what like so good. And just I got incited by him.
Yeah, describe what inciting is.
So I'm going to describe this badly because I have to say I was not prepared for this and I still don't understand it fully, and hopefully I did it right. If not, it was done in the spirit of doing it right. But it's this basic idea where your ties to your egregore, which is essentially your ties to the nation, are checked. I think it can go into studying virtues as well, but I'm not entirely sure. But it's really your ties to the nation. In my specific case, that was being
it's like
checked on.
It's like a truth serum almost.
Yes,
right. Is the best. It's how I would describe it.
Yeah, it kind of makes me. So it was basically asked like, where do I feel my ties are, like straight up. And it was like,
damn son,
like in with the immediate question.
It's crazy, dude. Like,
and it's like truth serum. So it's like the truth as Talis would describe it is the best way I can express it. Yeah. And that meant like actually like delivering my tragic backstory, right? And like, which is actually quite an intimidating thing to do, because like you write this thing.
Well,
and
everyone also wanted to know. Like I missed it, but I saw like what was happening over the other side, like.
Because it was done like right next to the camp, right? Yeah. Right next to the camp. Like which was a really good move, I thought actually. And I think like so anyone who was interested could have come over and listened.
Anyone that's played with Riz will know what I mean by this, where he's like outlandish, but incredibly caring in his RP.
Yeah.
But he deliberately put you in that situation,
yes.
right? Like deliberately.
Yeah.
He could have said, Talis, could I have a word with you away from the camp or somewhere else?
Yes.
No. This is the show. This is the main event, right? And just to make you like in front of your banner and everything else to be incited is fucking crazy cool RP.
It was like I didn't do an amazing job of it, but like as a thing, I mean for me I did a good job, but like in terms of like the moment, the player moment, it was like so strong.
Yeah.
Like it's like it was like suddenly having, and this is the weird thing because like I had this loose formulation of what Talis's opinions on it all were, right? But it's the kind of thing that was not meant to get tested at that moment, right? So I hadn't actually really formulated it as a character identity with a rational argument to all of the different things.
Yeah.
To then have to suddenly like kabam that and
it's one of those,
it was really interesting.
It's like one of those things that in LARP generally where there are like. You suddenly find yourself on the fucking plate holding the bat, right?
Yeah.
And the ball's coming, and you're going to have to swing at it or not. Like, it's that and they're like character making things.
Yeah.
In fact, I had a conversation over the weekend. It wasn't actually in the event. It was actually to a few walks on a different event before time in. I talked about the anecdote about how, remember I got asked to step up and like, is Ifan here? And I stayed quiet because I was so nervous about it. Like that, even a defeat is worthwhile having, just so you can learn from it. But I would say that you had a bit of a win, really, like especially with the RP, right?
Oh, I had a huge like for me, and I think this will show in this is that I probably got more to say about the first event than I do the second. Talis was and playing Talis was like, it was actually something that was quite explored for me in this event.
Mm-hmm.
And then bear in mind I'm combining all this with being involved in the plot and involved in the story, so it was a pretty intense weekend for me, but it was so much fun and like that was fantastic to be like incited. Super cool.
Then this was also a catered event, so we got fed, which was pretty good. That was nice. Being actually, fed is good. Also communal meals, good. We're kind of getting better and better, I think, at what we need for the camp and how we organise the camp. And the camp is a really enjoyable space to be in. Sidetrack just for a second.
Yeah.
Okay. I keep on bringing like a barbecue, like meats to barbecue. Okay. Yeah. But more and more, I'm tempted by the idea of bringing like stews and a pot, and then just having like this is this day's meal, this is this day's meal, and just doing it that way. Seems like you just freeze them.
I think that is probably the right way to go. Yeah. It's just organising that and actually doing that is always difficult. But I think we'll get it sorted. Yeah, as I say, with the camp is literally becoming more and more comfortable and more enjoyable to be in every time we go.
Yeah, and this is like I think definitely part of us developing as players is like learning how to just be much more comfortable and
you understand what you do and you don't need all of that.
So I had said to Phil, if you want me to do anything at all, you just let me know. I'm down.
Yeah.
And he was like, he just came up to me and was just like, oh, come with me. And I was like, okay. And I was like, grab some weapons, right? And I was just like, okay. And he was like, do you want to be a Wraith? And I was like...
This is quite late at night, bear in mind.
Yeah, it's like dusk.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck yeah, I want to be a Wraith. So I get tooled up with 2 axes and like a black shawl robe thing. And we basically walk up to the top of this hill.
Yeah.
And Phil just goes to me. I'm like, what noises does a wraith make?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh no, just some spooky shit, right? Calls and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck. So he heads down the hill, and I'm sat up on the hill going like, what the fuck noises am I going to make?
Yeah.
Right? Like, and it's like I have to be able to make it sound enough.
Yeah.
So I'm not just like yelling to myself on the top of the hill.
Yeah.
So
also, it is important to say that like wraiths are actually pretty scary things in game. Like I see a wraith is actually a very formidable foe.
wraiths knock people down like immediately.
Yeah.
They're like absolutely brutal.
So for you, it's actually quite challenging as a role because you actually have to be something scary, right? Or try and exhibit that, right?
So I had problems. Okay, so as I'm heading down the hill, there's a wind coming off the hill, bouncing up into my face. Okay, which is blowing the cloak off my head,
right?
Thus revealing young Gilla Ashborn underneath the thing.
Yeah.
The sun's coming down though, right?
Yeah.
So I decide that I'm going to pull the hood right over my head.
Yes.
So I can't see shit.
Why?
And just start doing like I can't do it now, like a...
Yeah, it was really good, dude.
And I like start going for it. I change pitch a few times, trying to protect my vocal cords, but also like experimenting with the sound. And I'm supposed to be this ancient, like there was a battle ages ago, and like... So, okay, all the players, like, rush around me.
I'll tell you from our perspective, right? So we're just all actually chilling, because we don't know that this is about to happen. And I knew that these things were in the plot, but I didn't know when it would happen, and anything like that, or how it would be delivered. So Phil did all of that. And then, so we're just chilling around the fire, and then all of a sudden there's this kind of, this sound coming from the top of the hills. And then
was it good? Did it carry?
Really good, really
awesome.
good. And then Phil's character, how can I pronounce it? Ezra? No, Ezri.
Ezreal.
Ezreal. That's it. Ezreal. Sorry, I'm so bad at names. But like, it like came obviously and told us all that there's these wraiths coming, and we all have to get prepared. And like, everyone's arming up really quickly. Like me and Owain and Bastiana, set up like this triage, and like had to literally clear the table. It was super dramatic. We could see you coming down the hill. Everyone's forming up. Sasha's actually walking in front of us as everyone's getting ready to fight you, doing a Varushkan kind of song toward the camp. It was so good. It was amazing. And like Vicky's just like, let's tool up and get ready for this and all this kind of thing. Just like to start bringing people in for triage and organising the hospital.
Like Vicky's a non-com too.
Yeah.
So having like, there's a few moments of like threat in the camp, but non-coms like it was cool the way it ran actually. Like
it was just the right amount of threat, and you were phenomenal, right? Because like it's super challenging, and I can attest to this for something else that happened later on. Like, being one or two people against everybody is very difficult.
Yeah, I got into it though. Like, I was like, once I got to the bottom of once they started to surround me, I was just like, I can just like smack motherfuckers, right? So I'm two-handing. I'm like making noises and stuff, but I'm like adding flavour to it. So I'm like, all dead. Yeah. All dead. Like, I'm just saying, like, everyone's dead around me. I'm still in the war, and there's a battle, and I'm like knocking people down, and like Lanius is trying to attack me, and she's going crazy. We should talk about this.
Yeah.
Something serious happened.
Yeah.
And we should go into this, and this is not any blame whatsoever. In fact,
no.
I'm not even going to mention who the player was. It was a new player.
Yeah.
They had bought an axe off it's a hammer off a seller, a two-handed hammer. Okay. Yeah. It looks amazing.
Yeah, incredible.
Okay, like really, really badass. Went to weapons check. It was, and I agree with this. It was just safe, but that kind of like, if it gets too cold, then it might like harden up too much. You need to keep that thing kind of. Yeah, it was that kind of borderline. Okay. It's a new player.
Yeah.
It's dusk.
Yeah.
And I am shifting around quite fast in my Wraith costume.
Yeah.
This player pulled his bow back above his head and brought it down, okay? And unfortunately, I moved just at that moment.
Yeah.
And he didn't pull his blow how he should have done.
Yeah.
And he smacked me on the back of the head.
Yeah.
I went down like a sack of potatoes, like immediately, right? I went boom, straight down. I turned around and just said, careful of the head hits, like immediately OC.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, I'm cool. I then stand back up again and I continue to try and do it out. I'm not feeling 100%. To be completely honest, I just wanted to fucking Dave up and just fucking get in there and just, do my thing. It was really cool.
Yeah.
And I'll just go over quickly what happened around that. I sat down for about 20 minutes, half an hour.
Yeah.
I was pretty discombobulated afterwards. But what was really nice was... the annoying thing for me as a player was, like, I knew the player involved was so upset that it happened.
Yeah.
Right? That's the thing that really upsets me about all of this is, like a new player, a young player... just made a really honest mistake, and it would just happen to be the worst case scenario for that mistake, right? And it's just like, not the worst case, within context,
it didn't go right.
So when I was ready, I went over there and we just sat down and had a real hug out, and I was just like, "We're cool," and he was just like, "I'm so sorry, like this is that player is never ever ever going to not hold his blows ever again." And it's just like, but I think it's worth mentioning, and I wasn't sure whether we should mention it or not.
No, I think like there's absolutely no kind of like negative feeling towards it
at
all.
It
was like
at all.
It's just it is one of those things in a true sense, and
he's an awesome dude.
He's
basically,
an awesome dude.
So I think it's like it was interesting. The set of events that led up to it. It was a learning process, and I think it was like just a very unfortunate set of events. However, no harm done.
Yeah.
Amazing, dude. Like,
dude.
Getting to be the Wraith and like actually being like people were genuinely shit up by it and like scared by it. Dude, scaring LARPers is the easiest thing in the world. That's Dave Wimpy 2021.
Wow. Well, I find it. I was actually later on. We'll get to this. I was like super intimidated by trying to do that.
Yeah, but you'll be surprised, right? Yeah. Like people from the receiving end.
Yeah.
Stuff is terrifying.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When you're,
you guys were super scary.
Feeling like the dick in the robe, waving his axes around, trying to make silly noises, walking down the hill, trying not to fall over. Yeah, you can feel like massively self-conscious, but like I think it was like waving my axes around and hitting people, and occasionally like giving them a little bit of spice,
it's a sound effect,
bit of spice, like giving them a little bit of an extra, like I'm gonna like not just be generic flailing around. I'm gonna do some moves at the same time, like mess each other. Really fun, and then fear in their eyes and people shouting and all of that.
Seriously, it was so good from my perspective. Because bear in mind, Talis ain't dying, right? I can assure you of that. One thing that's not happening is Talis dying before he gets his cloak, right? Like that's like. I'm out.
Option.
I'm out. That's on the cards. I'm out. So I'm standing back there setting up hospital, and Sasha's literally walking in front of these bells and this drum, I think, and tapping out this ward in front of us. And then afterwards, after you guys were defeated and we came back to the camp, Sasha sang this song called Rubies in the Snow, which is actually a song about a Varushkan song about the events of the Morn Hollow that we're near, which is like the actual area that we're near. He sang this song, which is a very long, super like complicated song, or it seemed that way to me, and smashed it and nailed it,
mate.
Like absolutely nailed it. It was
so
good.
It's that perfect like homogeny of like talent and like lore and situation, and it's just like the immersion. There's a word for this.
He literally started singing it. Like, bear in mind, this is after the battle, after the skirmish. We're all sort of there, and we're just starting to chill out. Right, everyone's just kind of like geared off, and we're getting some food, we're getting some drinks out, and just sort of starting to talk. I see about everything that was happening, and then he just started singing it in that, and it came in, and the way that the conversations just kind of hushed around the sort of the camp. Just to listen to this performance, it was so good.
Navari respect musicians and storytelling.
It was so good.
What I like is the rules of songs and story.
Yeah,
are like they
radiate out.
They radiate out. If like if you approach our camp and there's someone singing, like we'll just shush people,
Yeah.
like immediately.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's not even like it's nice, but yeah,
People
it's-
understand really quickly as well. But the crazy thing about that, so it goes from this song to then Riz actually being a character, as crazy as this is, who is there, a player who is there for the player events that actually are where this song is kind of linked to. Right, and sort of has knowledge of all of these things. Like it's
Dude,
crazy.
His storytelling.
He delivered this story about his experience at this thing, which was another player event, as far as I know. And I'm sorry for anything I'm getting wrong here, but telling this story about surviving that and what they did and what they knew about the past based on what they did,
and how many didn't come back, and like all of that. Like,
it was
it's
great. It was
just
so good,
harrowing. And
Yeah.
like good and like just
it-
real, and it's night and we're in the arse end of nowhere,
Yeah.
and there's the stream flowing like down the hill.
You guys have just come down the hill as wraiths, right? Like,
Yeah.
and it was so good. It was a great moment.
I want to mention quickly a few High Guard players that were there
Yeah,
were what are quickly becoming some of my favourite people to RP with ever. Like they're really, really fun.
yeah,
They're the same group of guys who did the spiteful, like Briar hating
Yes.
thing that ended in what I can only describe as chaos.
Yes.
And even the version that I think we told on the podcast isn't correct.
Oh,
and I think there is a
think
lot
it's
more
far
to
from
this
the
story.
truth.
Yes, and I think it's so interesting. So these guys are coming back, and they're coming back as High Guard players, and they are like just kicking over the dumpster of what happened before
yeah.
as like one of them. And I really have to be careful with how I
Yes.
tell this story about this character, but they are playing an Inquisitor,
Yeah.
and they are trying to find out what happened in that whole thing.
Yeah.
Was there a miscarriage of justice? What happened to Spiteful? You know, all of the stuff
Yeah.
that happened. And this person is like, the whole group of them are good, but I'm going to talk specifically about the Inquisitor, is like a fucking human can opener.
Yeah.
He will... Okay. Our player
Yeah.
sat next to him,
Yeah.
and everyone, he's already like asking questions and making everyone feel very nervous, and like they're telling him bits of information, and he turns to this one player and goes to him, what do you know about the Spiteful's like death or disappearance at the last minute? He's like, oh, I'm not going to tell you that, you know, no, I'm not going to give away my secrets. And he goes like, what secrets? And it's just
Oh
like,
my god, it was.
and then he's just like, he just gives it all up. I've never seen anything like it. It was
realizing that, like, oh shit, I'm in trouble.
This player's ability to make people tell him information is unbelievable. He just starts talking, and then everyone's like, and then I killed my grandma for the money, and the money's buried here, and like I've been like cheating on my spouse forever with this person, and like this is the hotel number I meet at. You know what I mean? Like this. It's incredible to watch, and I love interacting with these group of players.
Yes.
They're so much fun. They take their RP very seriously, or not very seriously. It's hard to tell, right? But they are.
Yeah, it's a nice blend, actually.
Yeah, it's like
These particular characters, they actually feel like a slightly old school Bobby on the Beat character from an old BBC cop show, like something like that, you know, that
like
kind of style of
Cracker,
thing.
like
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
like
you know what I mean?
the
Like
the
hard
Columbo,
nosed, yeah.
Columbo. You know, they're kind of a little bit quirky, but they will just like they're professionals, and they always get who they're going after.
Yeah.
They always get the information they're looking for. Like,
yeah. It's so good, right?
I loved interacting with them the whole weekend. They brought so much game, and also they're a great example of players that create game around them.
Yes.
And I think that's like they're having fun.
Yeah.
Everyone's having fun interacting with them. As the whole Spiteful thing happened, like I think it's like you can create a huge amount of stuff. Like you make people's weekends by creating this sort of plot. And absolute privilege playing with them.
They're great. I mean, there's so many people who kind of they provide so much game. They're so and as you play more, actually, it started to be like I enjoy my own game, but actually I really enjoy giving out game to other people.
Yeah,
right.
But also like this is the first event that I've been to where I genuinely felt like, and this happened like Riz said a nice thing to me, other people said nice things to me, but I can hold conversation about political things.
Yes. Yeah.
And really hold my own.
Yeah.
Right? Like with some of the most informed players in the game. Like I have a position.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad one. It's definitely like, it feels like
you've done the legwork in the sense where you understand what your argument is, and you're informed on enough things to be able to speak. You have put quite a lot of effort in a way.
Yeah, but I think it's more like being dyslexic. I think the thing is, it's like a lot of the stuff that like is learning by interactions with players.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's like you can. I interacted with some new players actually.
Yeah.
In fact, there was that one new player that came up.
Yeah.
And was talking about how terrible Rivers Run Red is. Was that at the
That's
other
the second event. Yeah, we'll have to get to that because that was a
yeah,
really cool
but
moment,
it's like okay, but this event was definitely like I actually felt that I could actually talk about the things I was talking about and not be gazumped by law, because this is a real problem, right?
Yeah,
you come out with, I have a position, and then someone says to you, well, fucking 2 years ago this happened, and you're like, well, I didn't know about the thing that happened 2 years ago. That seems very reasonable. Yeah, all the things that I was about to argue against did happen. So.
I think there is that element of it, but like I think you've reached the level of confidence where you and position where you kind of understand. You can go in with an argument, right? And I think that's been a good thing.
Yeah, but it's also a learning process, right?
Yes,
but
yeah, of course.
Either way, like basically being called competent by the senator of Hercynia.
Yeah.
Is like my little heart, Ian.
I know.
My little heart, Ian, grew so big, and it was just like, what? I'm competent? He said, well, you're clearly competent. Yeah. And I was just like,
I know. What a guy. It was so cool.
So nice. Like, that was the, like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, it was one of the nicest things anyone said to me in a really long time. Really nice.
Oh, man, this brings up somebody in my mind as well, and that's Travid, who's played by Martin. He's just... Yeah. Like has this book of like knowledge and stuff, and I won't go into it too much, but like the fact that he's just able to go out and just like,
dude,
it will show you the figures. It will show you the figures.
Me and Travid disagree on stuff now.
I know,
and in the best way possible.
Yes.
Like it's like, because Travid's really been a guide for me in an awful lot of political things, and now like we have things where we don't agree on, and it's like It, not that I know that this isn't. I was about to say, the pupil becomes the master. No, not at all. Mine is still definitely the master. Of course, but it's more like it's really nice just having that level of conversation with him now.
Yeah, totally. And because bear in mind, he's probably, I mean, it's safe to say he's the first political figure we ever encountered in play. Right back on like the first event, he just made himself aware to us. Like somebody had a political game. Yeah, super giving.
Right. We need to keep going. Yes, we're only on Friday of the first fucking event, Ian. We're not. Jesus.
So I think that pretty much is Friday, though. I think that's pretty much.
Oh, that is Friday.
Yeah,
cool.
That pretty much is Friday.
Onward, Saturday, Ian. In fact, the early skirmish was the Ian the Terrible skirmish. So we got that out of order.
I have a feeling we did, but I think as well. Anybody who was there will probably be able to correct the whole order of everything we're saying and all of the facts. As always, LARP is a fairly...
Ian, to be damned with reality. Yeah. We're telling stories now and reminiscing. It doesn't matter what actually happened. Let's just...
it's what we felt, right?
Yeah, exactly. Let's have a really good time with it and just enjoy it. So, the next day...
that was the...
Do you want to do the tarot reading?
Yeah, so that was an interesting one. Right on. It was basically Riz called me over. Like I was just walking from one camp to the other, and he called me over and asked me if I wanted to do a tarot reading. Mm-hmm. And this is like following on from the insight the day before, right? Mm-hmm. So he did this tarot reading, which is basically like this. I won't say too much because it's like a bit of personal story, I suppose. But it's kind of asking like. There's like questions that have been posed, and I have to find an answer, and that's like, which is fairly obvious.
What does this card mean to you?
Yeah, right? Exactly, all of that, and it was just so good. Like to actually like have the private kind of consultation and the reading, and there was another player there too. That actually having that third person there was really nice.
I absolutely love tarot readings at Empire, and they're like a really good way to kind of like. find meaning in your character and what you're doing, and like if the person's guiding you correctly, you can come up with all sorts of wonderful things about it.
The way that Riz delivered the cards, and I'm trying to play Talis out as best I can, right? But the way he's delivering the cards at the end of the reading, like I'm so kind of like mesmerized by the cards and everything he said. That he has to say like they are just cards. Like it was so good. He said it icy.
Like I love that. I love that. By
so
the way.
Good. I'm
very skeptical of tarot readings, but I love them in game. Like literally, the reason why I continued to be married to Sinwig was after I was sobered up from Goose Whisper. Was I had a tarot reading, and he told me it would be a very prosperous relationship, but I needed to be careful of treachery.
Right.
That's enough to be like, fuck, let's stay married. Let's enjoy ourselves, right? New player skirmish.
Yeah, so we did like we basically at this point you weren't feeling really right for skirmishes and stuff yourself, but you were up for doing photography, and things like that. So you were running. But this time you weren't. Of course, you were the Boy Scout.
At this time I was helping out, like semi-crewing, because I was like
you were like an NPC, right?
No,
you were your character. Still.
I was me, but it was all. This was the Limpy Pete skirmish.
Yes, yeah.
So I was the one with the information, and I was just like, and it was really. Oh man, I'll tell you what's weird about this is like I've only been LARPing for 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay, like and. So we're going to this event, and it's for the new players, and the War Scout Phil is telling everyone what's going on, and I start just riffing, right? I'm not saying, it's probably Limpy Pete, he's got a leg or whatever, it's a bit of an issue, but he's a really great guy, like he always gets the job done, you know, and it's like, then I'm like, but then I'm starting to like hype it up, and I'm just like, listen, whatever happens, listen to the War Scout, and like stay like behind me, and we'll get through this, okay? Like work together. Like so I'm constantly like giving them from the point where we come into contact with them when we go on this little thing. I'm constantly telling them about having to work together and listening to me and Phil. Like listen to us and we'll be fine. That like I'm reinforcing that. What were you about to say?
No, I was going to say because that is a really important part to feed into what happened.
Yes,
and so we're all playing Jotun, and there's a pretty like good size of person on the Jotun force, right? Like. Like it was a good number of people and well equipped.
They're solid fighters too, right?
And so Robert had this head that is actually like a fake head that you had. It's
my head.
Yeah.
I bought a LARP safe head during the Long Dark because they were giving it away half price, okay?
Yeah.
Like at one point during the terrible times, a lot of sellers were like wanting to get rid of their stock.
Yeah.
And I wasn't in the business to buy a LARP head at the time.
Yeah.
But seeing this LARP head and seeing it go for half price, I was like, well, that's a bargain. I got to buy it myself. And it's got like long hair that you can hold on to. You can tie it onto your belt. It looks so good, doesn't it? Yeah. It's like a proper... It looks like a head. It's like a proper... And also, you can fuzz it and shield the wall.
So Robert put it in a sack and basically waited. We were playing
Okay. So we go up the hill onto a path that looks down the hill. Yeah. But we're miles away in game, right? And I'm like, we're walking along, and Phil's looking at the ground, and I'm like, is that blood? And he's like, yeah, it's like, I think there might be some Jotun activity up here. And like, I'm looking back, and I'm like, I'm serious as fuck this entire time. Yeah. And that you can feel the tension growing up in the group. So we come to the end of the path, turn onto the field, and then there's a group of Jotun there.
Rowdy
Jotun. They're yelling, they're heckling, they're being like, and I'm just like, I turn back, I'm just like, work together, okay? Like, whatever happens, like, work together and you'll be fine.
Follow us.
Turn back. Yeah, follow us. Like, whatever happens, like, follow our lead, is what I said, right? And then, like, Robert's like in his orc mask, like, you bloody Imperial scum type thing, and then he goes,
got a present for you.
We got a present for you, and he pulls out, which isn't very Jotun, by the way, like beheading people, but for the benefits of this, like, it was fucking great. Pulls the head out and just fuzzes it down on our feet, and I'm just like, oh no, Pete, Limpy Pete, you scum Jotun. And then he starts like incanting
like a spell, right?
A thing, and then pop a fucking red smoke grenade, and that was my cue. Me and Phil's cue was to red smoke, go down.
Yeah.
Okay, like so.
And then chaos
hit the ground, and like we fall on each other. But unfortunately, I fall the wrong way, and I'm face forward. What I should have done is, for all those savvy people that are going to become unconscious that want to watch the action, turn to face where the action is going to be. Because, oh my god, the sounds...
It was so good.
Were bonkers, dude. Like, it was chaos.
So, immediately after you two went down, we hit them. And we hit them pretty hard. Mm-hmm. And like these are like bear in mind they're actually really competent, right? But just because someone's a new player, of course, doesn't mean they can't fight, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's very important
true.
To say. Like there was so like better than me, like straight up better than me fighters out there. But like the whole point is, it's like the shock of it, right? Just being hit, and we kind of outnumbered them slightly at this point, so we're starting to like push them back, and then Callum and Caitlin's characters
they had planned to have like a couple more experienced players come in and be like wrecking balls, and we told the crew like try not to kill everyone when these people show up, like this is like whatever it is. There's a little bit staged, but not really.
Not much, no. Like we would have like we were up for pushing them hard in that one.
But I would also say that there's a difference between like the giant fest LARP that is Empire and what a more bespoke experience is like. Yeah. And I like both of them for different reasons, but I think this is the benefit of that sort of thing, right? Is to be able to like tailor make it's the new player skirmish. Yeah. Make it a new player skirmish, right? Like have some real threat, but let everyone have a good time.
I hope anyway. I hope it was a really good introduction to it because it felt intense from my end, and like I got like platoon style killed, like shot down by this arrow. But that was the thing was I also like I was just kind of down. I needed to be finished. And then later on, like I like picked up the arrow and I was like had it like tucked onto the armpit so it was sticking up, and I was kind of like rolling around. It was proper cool, mate. And you guys almost got forgotten. You were down, right?
Well, I think it's like that chaos of combat.
It was so crazy, yeah.
Like, and it's I bumped into a few new players over the course of this time, and it's like I think one of the main things that happens to you when you first engage in combat is your spatial awareness reduces to 0. Yeah. You are what's directly in front of you, and that's your whole world. There is nothing else. And this happened a few times over the course of the events, but like people get killed because of spatial awareness, and it's a skill that you just have to grow through experience, you know? Yeah.
No, totally. And I think like we said it before, but the number one way people die in a way is just going down somewhere where the line isn't. Yeah. And nobody gets to you. Yeah. And that's how your character dies.
Oh, dude.
Like,
dude. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Lanius.
Yeah, so this is about when Lanius basically started trying to control the flow of white mana, and there was also a type of Liao that was a bit dodgy as well. But it was mainly basically trying to get all of the camp supply of white mana, which is this kind of dodgy resource that was out there, doing some pretty nasty stuff. So I just wanted to bring that up. That's an undercurrent of stuff that's going on. Like people are starting to collect these dodgy things together, and that part of the plot is building in the background.
Yeah. Like there's people like running around the background, just basically, and I'm like kind of aware of this as a player that this is happening, but trying to stay as well away from it as I physically can. You know? Yeah. I don't want anything to do with that.
So then we kick into, and this is by my reckoning. I might be wrong about all of this, by the way, but I think we kick into the tournament at this point.
I think so.
And we had 1v1s. Yeah, which involved myself and Fire, who's played by Good Dave, and round 1 we were pitted against each other.
I mean,
and it was very one-sided.
It was the tournament was so because of the hills around us, and the general setting, and people playing instruments. Like there were people playing like the mighty tambourine and drums, and it. Every hit was like cheers and all of this. It was like the atmosphere was so good, and it really felt very martial. Like there was some absolute there was some real skill on display, and it was very good.
I did all right actually, but like bear in mind my character literally has 2 hits because I wasn't wearing any armor. Yeah, so it was like I think I scored 2 hits, and then I got
Yeah.
I got taken down. So I'm happy with that. But like, so I was out. And then...
Is this when the salmon got named?
Yes.
It was when the salmon
got named. Yeah. So basically there's all of these... Obviously all these other bouts are taking place. And one of them is of this new player.
He's a lovely young lad.
Yeah.
And he went into this 1v1.
Yeah.
With...
He actually does, like... Hema is very talented at swordsman, and he does this move.
And it was like... A salmon-like move is the way to describe it, right? It's to hurtle yourself through the air while bending and flexing and generally trying to avoid hits in a...
Well, I was on the ground and he did like a kip up like a salmon. Like, up like up literally up a river. So I just shout from the sidelines, salmon. I think literally all I shouted was...
The word salmon.
Was just the word salmon. Or it might have been the salmon at that point. But then this became a call. It was so fast how he became the salmon of Hercynia. Yeah.
Was like lightning, and everyone agreed, and it was just so great. Like a lot of people have to take a long time to earn their name, right? Like the hero of Brecon, for example. He killed a herald, he did. He's 12 foot tall.
That, by the way, is going on the whole event.
Yeah, we're still doing that. But to get called and also what was nice was he loved it. Yeah. And it is a sign of affection and also...
Oh, dude, yeah, no, it was... I think it was just a great moment.
We actually had... Yeah, we should do it now. He actually got marked with that. As a brand.
Yeah.
As is part of his character. Yeah. And it was like... Riz gave it to him.
Yeah.
But all of us were there.
Yeah.
And it was like a really cool moment, wasn't it?
So, like, in Navarre, we have this thing of basically tattoos and oaths. And you basically make an oath and you kind of tattoo it or represent it on yourself. That's a very Navarre kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then one of the kind of ultimate expressions you can do of it is to brand yourself with a symbol that represents whatever it is that you've sworn an oath to.
Binding mark on your flesh to say that you are a thing and you live by these. And it's like, what does being the salmon mean to you and all this stuff? And it was like, it was a great thing. Anyway, 1v1s. Good Dave won. Yes. He was an absolute boss.
Yes.
Turns out cardio and all that stuff is a real advantage when you're fighting multiple fights in a row, right? Yeah. Everyone was so tired.
So basically, Dave and... I actually can't remember the name of the other player. Apologies.
He was a boss.
He was an absolute boss. And they had like a really long slogging out kind of 1v1. And both were like knackered. But it was really entertaining. Like generally, as a spectator... Like everyone was cheering.
It was tense. I didn't know who was going to win.
Yeah, they both got taken to like the limits.
And also, like what I like about a lot of competition that happens at Empire, the mutual appreciation and hugs out afterwards, and it's all very cool. Like
it was so cool. I mean, you had it was hilarious when Lanius was doing his 1v1, right? Because his character has no quit at all.
Oh my god, he's like the Energizer Bunny. You knock him down, he gets back up again. You knock him down, he gets back up again.
But his character had so many cleaves and so many kind of reverses of those, for his skills and things. It was good.
We should just send Lanius into husk areas and just let him defeat the Vlorn single-handedly. It's so good.
Oh man,
we did the 3v3s.
Yeah, so that was you and Good Dave doing the. So we actually had a 2-person representative on us. So I at this point, oh no, this makes me think I got the timing of everything wrong. But anyway, at this point, I think I wasn't quite feeling right in my leg, or I was knackered or something. And
didn't you come on? We were free.
No, I wasn't part of the free because I wasn't feeling right. I think I messed up, and I think all we're talking about now actually happened on the Sunday.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. The tournament is its own separate thing.
No, I think that was Saturday.
But the reason I'm saying that is because I had a slight injured leg from the thing I had to do the night before.
Either way, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. The 3v3s were awesome. I went into with 2 hit points, and I was playing we were fighting a fairly new group. Yeah. I got to try out Paralysis.
Yes.
Which, by the way, in a PvP environment is so unbelievably overpowered.
Strong.
It's like, oh my god. There are some people who can do it without a call, which is just silly. Yeah. You should always have to do it. Yes, there are items that you can use. So you can use it like a heroic call. And that shit's just...
Wow, that's crazy.
Well done, you've completed Empire. Please step to the winner circle. It's ridiculous. Even me having to do a 5-second call for it is still
Very
so
strong.
good.
Yeah.
Basically, it freezes people for 10 seconds. I get to wackaroo them in that time. So effectively, that could be
10 hits, right?
If I'm being a dick about it, it's 10 hits. If I'm actually being a bit more cinematic about it, it's more like 5 or 6.
Yeah, but that'll do, right? That'll do a lot, especially if you're aligned with other people.
I think you would be surprised at how many hit points some characters have.
That's true.
There are some tanky boys out there, Ian.
But in this tournament, it was very effective, actually.
Yes.
But you did get knocked out.
Yeah, and it was kind of like we were like down with that before we even began. Yeah. We were just filling out the numbers, but we had a really good fight.
You got a good go of it. Yeah. It was good.
I think it was Reese's Crew 1.
Yes,
Venom was used.
I know, that was really interesting. So we'd heard rumours about this earlier that somebody was maybe thinking of using Venom in the tournament, and this has been like a kind of I think you brought it to my attention.
There was a little bit of plot that I can't talk about now.
Yeah.
And now someone owes me a favour.
Yeah. No, so
because of the rumours that were happening with the Venom.
It was interesting because I knew about this, and being a physic, I decided I would sit up on the opposite side of the tournament so I could be there, so I could run on to heal anybody that was hit by Venom.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like a cool bit of plot that kind of filtered into the undercurrent of the tournament. And it just so happened when the Venom was used, it was used on a person who was on like their last hit point.
Yeah.
So it actually dropped them, would have killed them in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So it was like suddenly turned into like quite a serious.
Had to run onto the field.
I literally ran on and was like before
and also like I love this about LARP where like there might be something on the surface that's happening, but there's like a subtext to it where everyone knows that Venom's going to be called potentially. We don't know who it's going to be by or who it's going to be on.
Well, not everybody knew as well. Like only like a few people knew. Like you knew, I knew, a couple other people in our banner knew. I think.
If you want to ask me how I knew, I couldn't. Tell
you.
I
know we can't talk about
right?
it. Right?
It's like that's how cool that shit is, right?
It was really cool.
But it's like it's one of those like Thomas Crown Affair or Mission Impossible where there's like double cards underneath and like everyone's looking at everyone else and people are ready to act, and I'm like, I'm gonna keep my weapon on me if things kick off. Don't worry, I promise your survival. Don't worry. And it's like, shit's cool.
It was really cool. And so, but like there was a really cool resolution to it as well. Like the character who had done it was like awesome. Like that player's amazing.
Okay, we need to keep this fucking truck moving, Ian. Archery competition.
So then we had an archery competition, and what was really strange about this was, and this was really good fun, by the way. It was a immediately very different vibe from the tournaments that we'd had before. Went from being like a kind of like
rowdy,
a coliseum,
shouty, like there was like kind of like a folky sort of vibe where everyone banging their drums, and it was really cool. But there was like it became very bravo.
It was golf claps and stuff.
Oh, very very nice.
So and I was one of the judges. With Phil, and it felt really cool, right? We had the target set up, a bunch of people had a shot. We had me and Phil on either side, literally just sort of scoring it.
Anyone could have a go, and loads of new people had a go, and it wasn't intimidating, and it was really, really nice to see everyone give it a fucking good damn try, basically.
Because archery is actually like pretty difficult under pressure.
Those archers, those arrows are like, so LARP arrows are like have a giant cone of foam on the end, so there's none of that like easy stuff.
Yeah,
it's like firing a goddamn like.
Yeah, so
Pringles can down.
You kind of it's quite different, and but everyone gave it a jolly good go,
mate.
Right, and we had a great time scoring.
It was very British.
At the end,
bravo, very good.
So at the end of everybody shooting, we basically me and Phil meet in the middle. We compare scores. We pick the top two players, and then we push the range back a bit.
Yeah,
and we just do like a first arrow, like most accurate arrow wins.
Yeah,
and I think both players missed the first shot. And then had to take a second shot. And it was like really good. It was a really good finish.
Me and Bungle kept the book. Which I'm really in favour of, by the way, is now keeping a book and doing betting events for stuff.
Oh, it was so good. Having the betting on the side was really nice.
It's really fun and it gives a bit of interest. It's really fun to see the betting go. And like
Bungle was fantastic at it as well. Yeah. Like as the bookkeeper on the side, like he was proper like taking in bets, writing them down in a book.
Yeah.
It was really good. Taking the coin in, like I'll take that. It was a really good bet.
Actually, I'd highly recommend looking at those pictures on the Empire Facebook thing because they are really cinematic.
That's a good fun. They're really good fun.
Let's keep going. We ate some ribs. If you want to cook ribs, you got to leave them in a slow cooker for at least 6 to 8 hours. It wasn't quite there, but it was still very delicious.
It was very good. But it was quality food.
Moving on. Briar hate.
Yeah, so this is an interesting thing. There's a thing in Navarre, and we're going across the Empire, of course, where basically Briars who are engaging against the Valorn, we think, are starting to have flowers which affect them potentially.
So
And-
if you fight in these areas, the
Yeah.
Vlorn affects you by having dreams and also making you sprout flowers if you are a Briar.
Yeah,
Implying
yeah,
that the Vlorn and the Briars have something to do with each other, or at least the Vlorn might potentially have power over our Briars, which
Yes.
is...
The other fact being that all of the heirs of Terreniel, who are like the Vlorn supporting things, I think
the
I'm right in saying this,
human... yes,
all of them are Briars.
Correct.
Who have been turned to its cause.
correct.
And so basically this has built up this very kind of sort of sparky kind of aspect of play of like how different people think about
Can we
Briars.
trust Briars?
Yeah, and this was a very open question.
I honestly think we could do an hour
Yeah,
on just talking about the Briar problem.
yeah.
The Briar problem. Wow.
I know, Dave.
I'm actually not part on that.
No.
I'm not actually part of Briar hate.
I can't actually talk about some of the... Like, this is the problem with this. I can't talk about certain things regarding this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's like...
For plot reasons,
But just
actually,
to
I've
say,
got...
there is a lot of anti-Briar mistrust
yeah.
and sentiment within Navarre, like
Yeah.
100%.
And finding out different people's positions on things.
You would not... Even your most compassionate friends are deeply against Briars, or other people will be like... No, I don't see the problem. And there are some wonderful arguments either side of this.
Yeah.
But really, like, like PD are definitely pushing Briars into a corner deliberately, and I think it's fucking glorious. I think it's so good.
It's a really interesting part of play, and everyone who engages with it, that I saw as well, really had a lot of fun with it. And like that's the people who were Briars, the people who like it was a really interesting element of play.
Yeah, in fact, we had a Briar there that I had a really good chat with about it, where I like literally like nailed my fucking flag to the wall type thing. It was just like, you're welcome at my fire anytime you want. Do you know what I mean? Like, absolutely.
Because
and I made like a smackdown argument. You know, the 30 seconds version rant that sounds so good that you can't really fuck with at the time. You could probably do it with enough time and enough argument, but the quick version's good.
Oh man, no, it was really good. Like, I think that as an undercurrent as well was like quite a huge feature of the whole event.
Okay, let's keep going, Ian.
Yes.
Let's keep going, buddy. So, rumours of the Leaf Man.
Yeah, so throughout this whole event, there's basically been this undercurrent of this story that was started originally by Richard's backstory that had been seeded into the player packs. That from time to time he's called the Leaf Man. And I can't remember exactly, so I'm sorry if I'm butchering it at all. But the basic idea was that piece of information and some other pieces of information that people had been combined together to form this wonderful weave, this wonderful web, this kind of like wall display with photos and like little lines connecting dots.
The Charlie Day of Always Sunny in Philadelphia meme, where he's like standing in front of the board and all the lines are coming together with all the stuff on this, like the crazy person conspiracy theory guy. It was crazy to see this thing coming together. Yeah. And how, like I said before, how little I wanted to have anything to do with it. And you literally reacted to this as, like, what are we going to do? Okay, we've got to pull something out of our asses.
I got approached, and basically the question was, because nobody reached the point of further in the camp where people wanted to know. So, because obviously, it's nothing I'd planned for, really, or not fully anyway. So they basically, one of the players approached me and said, so if we want to like summon the Leaf Man, how do we do that? And I was like, you want to what? So what's this? I had to do like really quick catch up on a bunch of stuff. And basically the idea was that, okay, we'll do it at this time. And I sort of ran into my tent and was like, fuck, I have to be a Leaf Man in half an hour. So I'm like piecing together this kit.
We'll get to the Leaf Man.
Yes, we should. Yeah,
There's actually two things I want to mention first. Okay.
Yeah.
First one is, so I didn't want to die this weekend like you didn't want to die this weekend. We had incursions in the camp over the weekend. There's a couple of them that I want to talk about.
Yeah.
So one of them was, we're chilling at our camp. Here's some yelling coming from up on the top of the hill. Yeah. Look up, and there's a high guard player running down the hill, okay?
Yeah.
I immediately grab my weapons and start charging up the hill.
Yeah.
Okay? The player comes down, tumbles down a little bit, and then lands in front of me. I stop in front of them, and I'm like, he's like, and then like closes his eyes, and I'm like, fuck. So I look up at the tree line again, and I'm like, fuck. I'm the first one there. And I'm there with the Cambion gentleman.
Yeah.
And we're like looking at each other, and I'm like, okay. So I start charging up the hill again, and then I start hearing people yelling like, "Gellert, be careful! Don't go up there!"
Yeah.
It's okay. And then I see so there's like a tree line at the top of the hill, and then the road behind it, so you can kind of just see through. And I could see a tiny amount of movement. There was something moved in the bushes, and I was like, "It's got to be an ambush, right? It's got to be an ambush." So I start heading up there, and then I kind of hesitate. I look up and I just see a high guard player, turned out to be Phil, on his hands and knees, crawling forward. And I'm like...
Oh, cool.
As Gellert, can't not... Like, there's someone in need.
Yeah.
So I charge up this hill.
Yeah.
And it's like, the adrenaline pumping as I, like, got to the fucking ridge of that hill... and like came over the top of it. Like I didn't know what was going to be on the other side. Like it could have been like
an arrow line,
6 fucking Jotun armed to the teeth with halberds about to smack my ass into the. But I charged over there. It was just him, and it was like safe. And I was just like, oh my god, that instinct that killed Ifan.
Yeah, still there.
It's still in me.
Yeah,
it's gonna get me killed again. But it was great to have it back. That rush of blood to the head of. Fuck it, tonight we dine in hell. Whatever fucking ridge, we're going for it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, that was a really cool moment.
So good. Also, the attack into the camp.
Yes, so there was this. Basically, we were all sort of chilling around the camp, and Fire comes up to me and says, "Oh, Talis, do you mind like showing me some archery?" Right, and then so I'm like, "Okay, yeah, sure, I'll get the bow and stuff." And then he kind of pulls me to the side. He's like, "Get yourself armed up because I think there's some people behind us ready to attack the camp, right?" So I like string an arrow, and he's kind of going around. He was so cool.
I wish I knew that because I had a tankard in my hand when they attacked.
Well, he was working his way around trying to tell everybody, but obviously do it without them seeing that we knew.
Nice.
It was so cool. So like, Good Day was phenomenal.
Good Day's always on form, right?
It was so good. Anyway, so then they charged into the camp. And it was like a proper like howling charge in, and like
yelling.
Yeah, and they run from our camp.
Everyone spills their drinks. It's just chaos. Everyone's running.
Yeah, and they ran through our camp towards the other camp. So even though we knew we didn't have enough time to take them all out, so they then ran down to the other camp. No idea what happened to them down there. It was anarchy down there, I think.
So James Hewitt, who we did an episode with, he's a games designer, a friend of ours. He ran.
Yeah.
Got hit, but then tripped over a guide rope and
okay.
fell.
Oh dear.
So I saw this and was like immediately like OC ran over there and I was just like, "Are you okay?" And he was like, "I'm fine, I'm completely fine." I'm like, "Oh, okay, sweet. And I'm like, I'm gonna go and like chase after them and go and kill them, right? So I run after the bandits to try and kill them. And then I'm like, oh no, like the bandits all got dealt with pretty quickly after that, but the adrenaline dump and it was amazing, right? So I come back and James is lying on the ground, okay, and this guy is standing above him looking down at him, and I'm just like, "Hey, what's going on?" He's just like, "Oh, I'm not a physic, so I can't help him." And I'm like, "Oh, cool, so you're just like watching him?" And I'm like, "Mind if I join you?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." And I'm like, "Oh, cool, we can both watch him together." And I was just like, and then James looks up at me and goes, "So you know how I said I was okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Well, that was kind of like an OC answer, like, I got cleaved to the back without any armour on, and I am on my countdown. And I was like, oh, fuck! Physic! And we had to, like, run a physic over to try and, like, save him before he died. It was, like, so good. But, yeah, like...
the other thing that's been happening all this time during the event, because of all the dodgy herbs and everybody using everything, like, the physic game is going crazy, because everybody's, like, doing all of these traumatic wounds, all this kind of stuff that's happening... That's all kicking off the background. So the physic game was actually quite a strong part of all of this.
It's so good.
Yeah.
In fact, I feel like we're not even really brushing into how special this event was. Like, we're saying events and they were really good, but man, the whole package. Yeah. Let's keep going, though. Jesus Christ, let's keep going.
So then I've got the Leafman ritual itself.
Yeah.
And this was a lot of fun.
We all got told that Cadigan was going to combine all of the herbs and commit a ritual, and that something might go wrong.
Yeah.
And we were just like, well, this isn't going to go well.
Yeah.
So we all get tooled up and head up there. And me and Good Dave are like standing next to each other. And we're like, we're not going to stand where all that thing's about to happen.
Yeah.
So we're all like slowly taking a half step
Steps back,
here, half step there, just moving slowly away from where we think like terrible things are going to happen. And in the kind of like the half light darkness of the situation, Ian is covered in like his what you managed to pull together as a costume.
Yeah, so this was Phil's black cloak, the same one I think you must use as a wraith.
Is that all you used?
Yeah. And then I got some fake plastic leaves, and I just stuffed. I got you actually to stuff them.
Yeah,
in my hood.
But dude, you'll be surprised how fucking awesome that looked. Huh, that's funny.
So that's all it was. But then the other thing I did do, is I had these little lantern lights. And I got those stuck in there too. I think I'm right about this.
Mm-hmm.
And I had those on. So I had these little points of light. But the whole point was I had this hood really low. So I couldn't see anything. But as it kicks off, and basically I'm just kneeling on the ground. Everyone's walking around me to basically set up this semicircle. And Cadogan starts doing this ritual. And it's really good. Like he basically... it's a lot to sort of do a massive performance out there. He's literally the focus. The whole camp is there watching, right? And he's doing this performance, this ritual to summon the Leaf Band. I'm walking, I sort of stand up and I walk behind them. And I just start saying his name repetitively. And I think, I don't even know, I think Phil was also walking around saying spooky shit.
Yeah.
And so I'm walking around like behind the whole circle until I get behind him. This whole time I've got my hand up.
It was very witchcrafty. Is like, if you have an idea of like the craft from the 90s of like creating spells and like voices moving around you and like the wind or whatever, like that was a vibe, right? Like
I've no idea what it looked like, how it felt, because I was completely covered in this black thing. I could see very little. I had my hand up, which is basically the signal for saying like I'm not in play. Mm-hmm. As I basically walked up behind Cadogan as he's doing this thing in the middle of this sort of semicircle, and I basically tell him that he's compelled to walk forwards, and I just keep telling him to get closer to them, and then I kind of like RP, like all this kind of stuff of like, it's asking him these questions, and then
and he's answering you, but we
calling
can't,
to all of you.
We can't hear what the questions are because you're whispering in his ear, and it's just a bad business.
Yeah,
it's a bad business.
And then I stepped out in front of him. Basically, I grabbed him by both shoulders, and I think I asked him like, "Are they mine, Cadogan?" or something. And then I like turned towards everybody and did like a mass strike down thing.
Yeah.
And it was like, I have no idea what this looked like, but because I'm literally, I can only describe what I did rather than how it looked or how it came across. And I was just wailing around with these two like weapons, and I just got pounded on and died very quickly.
From the external though, the mass strike down was really effective. Everyone was like freaking out. Like it was the best show in town, right? Also, like I think at that stage in the event, we had the group affection for everybody involved had reached a level where playing out these moments were that much more fun and enjoyable for everybody being involved. And like seeing Cadogan doing his thing, seeing you do your thing, seeing all the players like interact with the fear of it. So good.
I'm so pleased people enjoyed it, because it was like, as I say, I literally couldn't see it, so I have no idea. But yeah, it was a lot of fun to do, and thank you everybody because I was super nervous, to be honest with you, because it was like I was not prepared. And like Cadogan was amazing and all the players were incredible, so I can only say thanks for that.
Cool. Let's do the rest of Saturday night then.
So after that, another thing they did actually after Leaf Band died, everyone couldn't get to, like obviously nobody, because I didn't know and nobody knew like what had happened or what that was all about or what they should even do, so people went off and got these little lanterns and put them around me and then said, we'll burn him, my corpse as the Leaf Man, and got all these little candles and things, these little flames, and because I can't really see anything, but then I can start seeing all these points of light getting put around me. It was, from my perspective, it was so cool. What a cool creative idea, because they obviously had to sort of group together to find a narrative that closed it off, and that was to burn me, and I think it was so good. So going from that though, so I just then from that was obviously, then it went to like OC timeouts of time. We had some more songs and stuff back at the camp. I went over to the Eerielight Fire, and I was with Bastigliana and some people there, and Lanius came along, and just the ribbing about the Leaf Man ritual in the best possible way was so funny. Like, I laughed so hard. It was like I literally lost my voice because I laughed so much, because it was just such good fun, like being with all those people you love and just having a really good funny laugh at just the ridiculousness of it all. And just before time out there, that's when I made the comment about the fact that I need to make a profound decision because I literally got another tarot reading done on me that said exactly the same thing as the first tarot reading, basically.
Yeah.
And it was like proper spooky dooky, like exactly the same kind of meaning, same questions, same everything. Like,
so it must be true.
So then at that point, like, Talis is like all in on like what is going on here, and literally I'm so in it that I don't even realise that I've said I need to make a profound decision. It was so bad. It was so bad.
I would like
everyone burst out laughing.
I would like to from now on try and fit the words "profound decision."
Oh no, you can't. You can't. It must be so. I felt so embarrassed because it must have been immersion breaking, but everybody just laughed. It was so funny.
I think it was.
It was that time of night.
Yeah,
it was that time of night where we were all just laughing.
It sounds like we were taking it like too like haphazardly. It was just like such a nice event to kind of like slip in and out of.
That first one was special for that, I think. Just the willingness of players just to have fun and enjoy each other's company and just to play again. Right?
Like I said,
it was
like,
so good.
The effect of having a weekend with a group of strangers is incredibly bond forming.
Yes.
Like, I really love seeing those people again, and we'll always have that. We'll always have Hercynia, basically.
Yeah, I'm pretty much there on Saturday. After that, it was just it was not as crazy a night as the night
usual
before.
Kind of just not so
chill.
debauched.
Yeah, it was more chill that night.
Yeah.
We all had a good time.
Also, wasn't the weather really bad on the Saturday night as well?
We actually had to bring the awning down because there was quite a bit of rain, so we had to. It was rain, wind. That was it. We were worried about the wind. It was a very windy night that night, actually, which made sleeping quite hard. But yeah, then we go into Sunday.
Yeah.
Did you want to take a little breakaroo, or do you want to hit straight?
Let's go straight into. Let's finish this event off, man. Before we move.
Because there's not really much to say about Sunday, to be honest. Actually, it kicked off actually with just a quite an interesting way to end the event, actually, which was like a player called Vigilus, who's a Hercynia character, is a Briar. He's a member of the Crystal Sky, so like lots of links, and he's a new player.
Vigilus is a badass too. That guy can handle his weapons just fine.
And so, but basically, the plot is that he's been abducted. Right in the middle of the night, he's been abducted, and we have to go and find him. So we all get up and we go on this walk, try and find him. Find basically like this kind of I think it was a blood trail. I wasn't part of it, but Phil had set up this thing where like, oh, can you see any like things that we can use to track him? And then we found where he was, and yeah, it was cool. But the fact that he was a Briar and he was abducted by the heirs of Eerielight, and he was like saying, oh, they were trying to do this ritual on me to try and turn me in some way potentially. And like I was like walking back saying like at the moment there is like a lot of tension in the camp.
You might want to shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
basically.
I'm really worried for him. I'm like warning Lanius. I'm warning him, especially like
the decision to become a Briar, especially in Empire, especially in Navarre actually. But
he was Hercynia, right?
Yeah, but it's like
which made it really interesting even on like a national level, right? Like it was like so I was like properly like, and all the links I had, like being Crystal Skies member and stuff, I was like I had like a full protection kind of mode, right? So, but that was like the close of the event in terms of RP. But just as an ender to the whole event, I thought it was a really nice touch, a really nice way to end it, because it really was like sort of gave people something to think about at the end.
I think to sum up, and we should move on. We should move on to things. But for me, like that whole family. Like that's what it felt like.
Yes.
It was. We were surrounded by people that we really cared about. Everyone had brought people that they liked with them, and therefore the jam was just so. The vibe was good. Everyone's chilling. Like the Hercynia people, new players were so good to interact with. Like if you listen to this and you're one of those players, you know the vibe, right?
Yeah.
Like we all got on so well, and like thank you so much. One of the benefits of having a smaller LARP is that sort of vibe.
Yes,
right.
I think like that. Exactly, as we said at the beginning, like 35 people is a really nice number, actually. Yes. It really felt like we could do all the things we wanted to do and have a lot of fun doing it.
I'm not sure I would want to do a 35 with randos, but a 35 with like a few trusted associates and their extensions is like...
is a lot of fun.
Oh, well, Well, thank you, sir. I will definitely indulge in that.
That sounds like
wonderful.
a lot of fun.
That is exactly what I'm talking about.
I mean, it's interesting. Basically, the problem I have is there's realistically only a certain number of days I can dedicate to LARP in the year. That's just like literally how life is. So I think for me, I probably won't, when Empire kicks off again, won't have that much time to do that many player events, which I'm very sad about. But at the same time, that's just how life is. But man, oh man, a player events, really good fun.
Okay, we're doing well.
Yep.
We're doing well. Okay, folks, we're going to take a quick break now, and then we're going to come back with the Shadow of a Fallen Queen, the much bigger event, the 130-player Bad Boy that was also run by Eerielight. Oh my. God damn. Okay, we'll see you very, very soon. Thank you for listening.
Yeah. Love you all.
Bye.